Well, good afternoon, everybody. Um, we're here today from Easy Car Buying, and this is actually my first live chat on the channel. As you all know, I'm basically a spinoff from another channel, Exotic Car Play Place, and so I felt compelled. It seems to be a really strong demand, not just to understand on Exotic Car Play Place as to what's going on with the quality of cars that are out there, the reliability issues, challenges, breakdowns, and of course people want cars that are going to last. This channel, though, however, I know there's a strong demand. I've had lots of people ask me in emails, on comments that said, look, we need more information specific to the buying experience and the finances and the economics of buying a car, whether it's new or used, depreciation, the best values, the worst values. And obviously, we want to talk about what the industry is doing, what's happening in a market. And so that brings us to my first live chat, which today we're going to talk about essentially the car buying crisis for dealers. And essentially, dealers are going through a bit of a crisis right now, or they're entering into one. Obviously, customers aren't buying, but that's creating a bit of a problem for some of the dealers. And the dealers now are in a place that they're having to get much more competitive. And, I've been studying and obviously want to share a lot of this information with everybody that it's really about finding and flushing that information out. Now, whether you want an electric vehicle, I think a lot of people aren't necessarily in favor of that. There are, in fact, some people that are buying electric vehicles, and we know that there's some great deals coming out there. Um, and so, what do we have here? Sorry. And so there are some great deals to be had. We know Teslas have been a thing. Um, And that's just something that if you're thinking about electric vehicle, we know that some of the prices are right now. And looking at some of the latest news, we say basically electric car sales are falling apart. Now, I'm looking at some information I have here, and after I mean, there's a lot of information that's showing that while electric vehicle sales are overall the industry is growing, uh, clearly there is a leveling effect. People are making that second decision. I mean, as more and more information comes out, those early adopters were getting to a place where they're, what, I want a new car, I want to get into electric vehicle, I want to do all the right things for the environment, I want to save some money on gas and fuel with rising fuel costs. It just seems like the right thing to do. And so as a result, yes, Fred. So welcome there, Fred. You know what? This definitely is not a video about EVs, because I think if kind of the channels, both Exotic Car Play Place as well as Easy Car Buying, then you'll know that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of electric vehicles. Basically, I do see them a little bit challenged right now. I think some of what's happening is that it's becoming more and more exposed as to some of the shortcomings of electric vehicles. There are people that are going to buy them no matter what you do, and I know some people in my circle that swear by them, and they'll own them and they'll buy another one and another one. But I'm not sold yet. And honestly, we know that there's some challenges, issues and volatility of the batteries. The range anxiety is real. I've seen it. I had a rental last year for a month or so, a Tesla Model 3, and I experienced it. I pretty much almost ran out of steam. I barely made it to a charge station. And this actually happened a couple of times. So we know range anxiety is real. We know batteries do not work in cold weather. It's terrible. They're junk that way. So yes, and you're right there, Fred. You had mentioned Ford and GM are giving up. And I would say, yeah, there's sort of that element. We know Ford has made a decision to sort of slow down their development on pure electric. Now, they have said that they want to go into a sort of more of the hybrid arena so that they have the opportunity to sort of exploit and slowly transition. But they're realizing very quickly the F-150 Lightning isn't selling the way they wanted to. They've scaled that back. And of course, we talk about the Mustang Mach-E. You don't see many of those around. So Ford's learning the hard way that they tried to jump in with both feet and figured out that, wait a minute, we better just stick one toe in at a time. And so, yeah, Ford's kind of almost given up the ghost on that, at least all in. I know some of their investments in battery development or manufacturing facilities has been scaled back, and they've sort of taken a second look at that. and GM the same story. They know that all the government jurisdictions are pushing a lot of these automakers to do this, but they're battling with what customers actually want. Customers don't want EVs generally. I mean, there's a small minority, but they're getting pushed into this. So the regulators are telling them they need to get into that. And as well, Toyota refuses to make EVs. Yes, that's definitely a thing that I've been seeing and hearing as well. We know Toyota, they're pretty much king of hybrid vehicles. That's a big thing for Toyota. And so if you want the best in that, the person who's basically, or the company that's basically mastered the art of hybrid technology, that's probably Toyota Lexus. And so as a result, they're developing that and enhancing and spreading that across more of their market. But they're also looking at hydrogen and some other options too. So yeah, they're not really the biggest fan of pure EV. They know the limitations and they're not going all in. And so that's just where a lot of those manufacturers are going. Now, with that said, I kind of rolled into this conversation with the idea that, well, there are some deals to be had now for EVs. Now, again, I'm not a salesperson. I don't think that that a lot of people want an electric vehicle. We heard about the Ioniq 5 here in Canada, $50,000 battery replacement. That's ridiculous. So, you know what? That's just what's going on here in this whole industry. You've got the regulators and the government squeezing down. You've got the green and tree huggers. They're all pushing down to say, hey, we need electric vehicles in our lives. But then you have 90% of the population saying, yeah, no, we don't want to be told what to do. And we also don't want the fact that you can electronically remotely turn off my car ad hoc. You can basically remotely download some software that's going to change the way my vehicle runs. And you're going to take over the control of my vehicle. And nobody wants that. So that is just where we're getting to. And a lot of people are just, yeah, I'm not interested in that. And so that's a big part of it. And then, of course, all the practical reasons. But there are some deals out there for those that want to have an electric vehicle. If you need to have it, you need to have it. You know what? Who am I to say? But I just do believe that it's a small, very small niche group that really is looking for electric vehicles. So I'll say also look at Inside EVs. I'm looking at an article here that says plug-in car sales in Germany rebound. So see, that's kind of what we're starting to see in some of these places like Germany, plug-in car sales. Now, obviously, they're talking about all kinds of, whether it's hybrids or pure EVs. But we know what's going on in Europe, and they're years ahead actually of North America in terms of the push and the emphasis to get electric vehicles on the market. So what it looks like right now, in terms of plug-in car registrations in 2023, year over year, so BEVs, they're basically up 11% and own about 18% of the market share. Plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, they're about 175,000 vehicles, and about actually down 51%. And so the total is down 16% overall. We're seeing it level off. Obviously, plug-in hybrids do represent a more practical approach, does get sort of the best of both worlds, but they're not all that popular. And if you read this article, Inside EVs, they do a great job of sort of laying this out in the different specific manufacturers. But anyway, more about electric vehicles to come. I think everybody's kind of done hearing about electric vehicles, and I don't mean to kind of beat that drum. So let's just leave that alone. Thanks there, Fred, again for joining. And you're right. I think people are just not there yet. There's too many cons and not enough pros to own an electric vehicle just yet. And so let's just move right along here. Other things, for example, Mercedes reportedly is saying that they have to get on board now with selling cheaper cars. So, according to Motor1.com, they're saying they tell its dealers it's chasing volume by focusing on cheaper gas cars. So even right there, I think that's right. We're looking at Mercedes-Benz is taking sort of this approach of, what, we're going to transition to EQE and all of our other electric vehicles, EQS, and all these, SUVs and cars that Mercedes is making, but they're having to fund that somehow, and they're funding it with their internal combustion engine programs. And so what they're saying is they have to continually push the volume sales on their lower cost vehicles, A-Class, CLA, C-Class even, for example, are vehicles, GLBs, and of course, GLCs. Any of these vehicles that are on the lower end of the spectrum, probably the bottom side of, an E or an S class, which are clearly their more premium models. Anything in the lower end is a volume game, and they're needing to sell a lot more vehicles. And Mercedes is basically putting more stock in the fact that they're going to pitch more of their volume cars and more of their lower dollar cars just to generate that revenue to further enhance and develop their market share. Of course, in the electric vehicle market as well as internal combustion engine, because even like BMW said, they've been waffling back and forth, and BMW has developed a few electric vehicles as well. But now they're even sort of hitting the pump and the brakes and saying, you know what, I think this isn't worth going all in. And even BMW says, you know what, no, we're going to take another relook at this and further enhance our internal combustion engines. And BMW said, yeah, we're going to develop them to make them stronger, faster, all those good things that we like about internal combustion engines. They've actually said we're going to continue developing the internal combustion engine and just make them more efficient and more powerful, but not give up all the good things. And certainly we know that's where the core clientele is for BMW, is that performance driving experience. And so BMW is realizing we can't forget about the base clientele that formed the company essentially, or supported the company to what it is today. So BMW is taking a much more, a gentle approach, controlled approach. They're certainly not going all in. Sure, they get the i6, i7s and all of those vehicles, but that's just a much smaller market share of their overall portfolio, and they're not really going all in. So as far as BMWs go, there's still some decent deals out there, although no BMW is cheap. What I'd say with BMWs is it's the car brand. It's one of the few car brands that still focuses on the driving experience. And so if you're looking at getting in on something like that, BMW definitely has it going on there. Welcome there, Ryan. Great to hear from you. From Edmonton. Yeah, are you from Edmonton as well? It's great to have you here for sure. Just see what else we can find here for articles. Yeah, okay. So I came across another little article here, which is interesting. SUVs now account for more than half of all car sales in Europe. I think we all kind of know what's going on with that. I mean, that's been kind of happening for the last little bit. And the thing with SUVs, we know that a car is a car. A lot of the automakers haven't really gone too innovative with making cars. And so what they really do is with car manufacturing is you have a sports car, you have a four-door sedan, or you have a hatchback. That's kind of the three big ones. Sure, there's these subgroups within, but not really. There's the big focus. You need a practical family car, a small little runabout, or again, a high-end sports car, maybe even just, a Mustang or, a Jaguar F-Type or even a Ferrari. Clearly there's a very small number of specific genres within the car industry. But SUVs, I mean, you've got full-size, mid-size, subcompact, compact. You've got all kinds of, sport. It's not just SUVs, but we've got sport activities, so SAVs, and all these other little subspace genres just to fill a market space, because we know that it's one of the most popular spaces right now is SUVs, and you can get some great deals out there for sure. Hey, Ryan. Yeah, yes, sir. So you're from Edmonton as well. No, that's great to hear from you for sure. As you can see, just came from the great outdoors myself. See the sun shining out there. And it's a beautiful day today. I know the weather's going to be great for the weekend here, so we're kind of piping up. A little frosty in the morning, but actually a nice day today. The sun's shining and life's good. What can you say, right? So, so going through a list here, kind of going through some more articles. What's interesting is things like a lot of it seems like car theft seems to be up, which is an alarming thing. Um, we have vehicles that are being stolen at an alarming rate. And what we're finding now is even, oh, hey, Fred. Yeah, Clearwater, Florida. Great. That's a beautiful spot. Um, been there as well myself. I love Florida. Actually, we have some relatives that just set up shop. I mean, they moved down. They're from here. Um, and they essentially, the Portuguese, they moved from Edmonton, set up shop. They have wholesaler construction material manufacturing or um, wholesaling company. They moved down to Florida, actually Kissimmee and around, obviously around Disney World there. I moved down there to set up shop, but I've been down all over in the Tampa area and Miami and have explored around as well. So I love that area. Florida is a beautiful spot. Can't really go wrong there, and the weather's always great. And one thing I noticed, I was in Cancun last winter, so in November, took a trip down there with my wife and kids, and we were down there for about 2 weeks, loved it. And every single night you get that warmth that just it never goes away. Even at night, you get the humidity and the warmth. Well, I didn't realize until I kind of did a little research that Miami, just the southern tip of Florida, is right within what they consider that Tropic of Cancer. And I probably don't need to educate anybody on this, but I just found it personally interesting that there's one spot in the United States that is aligned with that same type of weather pattern that you see in Cancun, which is clearly the nicest weather, most agreeable for the skin and the nicest conditions. Definitely, it's a great spot to be. And so let's just see here. Ryan, so it's a nice weekend coming up. You betcha. Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to that. Getting out, go watch some hockey at their local arenas there. We got some kids there playing hockey, so we'll be doing that as well. So just getting out and about and yeah, just enjoying the weather. And spring's coming, so that's where it really is getting really, really interesting. And so it's getting me all revved up, so to speak, and not to fire up the old Tesla because I don't have one. But the F-Type Jag, as well as a Porsche 911, which a lot of you may or may not know. We have an older 911. It's a 996. It's not the latest, and it's definitely not the greatest, but it's a lot of fun. And so I just want to throw that out there. Can't wait to get that thing back on the road, get it all tuned up, and get it ready for the road again. Spring's just around the corner. I know usually around kind of mid-March, we're kind of melted and we're ready for driving on these roads. So it should be really, really cool. Fred, yeah, you said there are problems with charging stations. Yeah, absolutely. I'd say, I mean, when you go to California, it seems like that's kind of the Tesla capital of the United States almost. So clearly for many reasons. I mean, the politics going on over there, as well as, I won't get into the politics of this story, but we know Tesla is well supported there. But you're right, a lot of other spots in both the United States and certainly in Canada. And the further north you go, it seems the less and less it's supported. So range anxiety is real, and it's not cool. Yes, Ryan, and Family Day too, you betcha. So we have a stat coming up here on Monday. For those of you who are obviously familiar with that, if you're across the pond or whatever, if you're not in Canada and such, the holiday likely doesn't apply. But we do have a great Family Day vacation here. Monday is a stat holiday, so it's great. And so Fred, you say it's 70 degrees now. Yeah, that's comfortable. What is that? I want to say 70 degrees. That's probably, I want to say about 19, 20 degrees Celsius. Pretty comfortable, definitely. That's nice. That's, you can wear shorts and a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt, but you're perfect. Great weather. A few years ago, I was down in Vegas, and totally different part of the country. I get it for sure. A lot more arid. You don't have the humidity. And we like to go down to those parts too sometimes. And I just found it absolutely ridiculously hot. We were down there for my birthday. That was actually in June, and it was extraordinarily warm that year. And I remember there was temperature. They got up to 114, 115 degrees Fahrenheit, and it was hot. I mean, we were rented a Camaro convertible, and it was my mistake as a Canadian that, hey, let's put the roof down. Well, that lasted 15 minutes. The wife was getting sick. I was feeling woozy. And then the car started stalling because it must have been airlocking or something. And so, real tragic situation. But I remember the dashboard was like rubbery and soft because of the heat. Everything was just melting. So it's pretty interesting. Um, so Ryan, yeah, hey Fred, 3 degrees above 0 Celsius tomorrow. So a nice winter day, Canadian winter for sure. So yeah, if we hit 0 degrees, that's always a nice winter day here in Canada. And yeah, it's like that Vegas, it's just on another level. So um, again, I just kind of talking about kind of what the market is and some of the opportunities. Now, I kind of started this video on the context of a crisis at the dealer level and get where customers are fitting into this. Now we know that customers are getting ripped off left, right, and center. As a matter of fact, I went and shot for a used car from one of my daughters. We went down last night and looked at a used car here at a local Nissan dealership, but they were selling a used BMW. And we got to kicking tires and ended up really turning over a lot of leaves, exposing the fact that we probably knew a little bit more of the background than probably a lot of people do or let on. And so, calling out the fact that, a lot of people in negative equity situations, we know a lot of dealers were capitalizing, but that combined with people just getting overzealous and buying cars at, 5 or 10K over MSRP. Interest rates are high, but people were still buying and they're still buying. However, things have started to stabilize. And that's why, the Bank of Canada has been making some decisions and talking already about possibly stripping back interest points for next year, for 2025. So it's clearly an indicator that people are not spending like they were of a year ago or even 6 months ago. So the deals are starting to slowly expose themselves. I'm finding that, but it's in pockets, and so it's not across the board. A lot of these brand new vehicles are grossly overpriced. What we saw was Stellantis and brands like selling the Jeeps. Just go look at a new Wrangler. I can't believe a vehicle that is a utilitarian vehicle with a very unrefined drivetrain and a good old-fashioned C-channel suspension or frame should be going for anything more than $20,000 or $25,000 US. But clearly, they've been jacked right up. Same thing with all the Jeep products. Same thing with Ram. So Stellantis is trying to propose that their product line is upper scale, and so I'm here to call that out. I don't believe it is that at all. I think all those vehicles have a place. Some people are diehard Jeep lovers and Ram lovers, and that's all good. But I mean, we know what the MSRPs are way too high. Even with some of these promotions that these manufacturers are starting to offer up, it's just not there. It's just not there yet. People aren't really in a place where they're ready to spend $95,000 on a new truck. And you do see the odd new truck driving around, but most of them are fleet vehicles. Yeah, company trucks. But I don't see a lot of people driving brand new, Shelby F-150s or F-350s. I don't see, like, as a matter of fact, I saw one here the other day. Let me just share that with you if I can find that. But I found an interesting one here that I can't believe it. It just blew my mind when I saw this. And so I just wanted to share that with you because we found this little deal here. It's a nice little gem. What we have is, if you look, we have a Ford F-350 Shelby Baja. Now, it's probably showing in reverse. I don't know how that looks on the screen. $207,000 for a new Ford F-350. I mean, tell me that is not absolutely bananas. I don't even know what to say about that anymore. So a lot of these dealers are just, I mean, it's getting out of control. So a lot of the new vehicle manufacturers and the OEMs and selling their new vehicles are trying to incentivize because people are starting to, fix what you've got. I posted a video previously about, a truck that I'm rocking. I've got a 2003 Ram, and I just, right now it's serving the purpose. I've got a young family. We use it a lot for banging around, throwing hockey gear around, camping, towing the boat, just locally. I don't go long distance, so it works for the local lakes. And just for hauling junk, taking trips to the dump, bottle depot. I mean, you name it. It just serves the purpose. I don't need $100,000 truck to do that. And so a lot of people are making that conscious decision. Maybe just clean up what you've got, fix it up a little bit. give it a, a shampoo the seats and move on. And some people are just fixing up what they've got. It's just getting too expensive. Other people, that's fine. I mean, to each their own. And this is a car channel, and clearly, I'm not saying don't buy. I'm saying buy with caution. And so I will be buying a car or a truck or an SUV sometime soon. I do feel that it's inevitable because at some point we might be handing the vehicle down to my son who's going to be learning to drive soon. So I'll be needing to backfill that with something. And so we all need vehicles to get around, but we just got to be, kind of smarter about this and understand what the dealers are doing, try to carve out the best deal possible. So Bojangles, welcome, Bo. Mark, I love your main channel. How come you never hear about this one on there? That's a great point there, Bojangles, for sure. I was actually talking about that with my actual channel manager just this afternoon and met up with him this morning. His name's Brian, and I'll just give him a plug, Automate Your Life. So he runs his own channel. He does more home automation, but he's also my channel manager, provides a lot of guidance. This guy's a rock star. He understands this game. And so he's been working with me, getting this going and fired up. So he's been actually talking to me about, okay, now I think we're at a time where we can possibly start cross promoting a little bit. I haven't been doing that. I'll be the first to admit I just haven't. I've been trying to develop this channel, enhance it. I started out, doing a vlog, which I love it because I love the passion for the lifestyle experiences and specifically the F-Type and all the other cars that, have come and gone through my stable. But yes, there will be some promotion back and forth. So I do want to start sharing that. And just as an FYI, yeah, like this channel is really focused very exclusively on the dollars and cents side of the car business, the dollars and cents. And it is uniquely a different channel. The other channel is technical, things that break, things, how cars last, engines, transmissions, the technical side of car ownership, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Whereas this channel is strictly market, dollars, buying, selling, that. So it's actually quite a different space. I do have a third channel I'm starting up, and I am fully intentional on building and developing it. I got it started here this last fall, and then I got caught up with some distractions, some other things, but we'll be getting right back to game on that one too. And that's 6-speed reviews. And so what that is my personal take on car reviews. It's a very unique look. It's gritty. It's not all yes man stuff. I'm trying to get a hold of these cars in my possession, whether it's friends, family, rentals, gimmies, and some dealerships that are just willing to share the truth. But at the end of the day, I don't want it to be a fluff and, one of those channels that's all about just, all just like green light. And then you realize it's kind of junk after you own it for a while. I just want to be real with that. I want to be one of those more gritty reality type of car review channels. So that's coming, by the way. Stay tuned. You'll enjoy that. And so Alonzo Hall, hey, welcome there, Alonzo, the All-Star Advisor. Salute as well. Appreciate you coming in and sticking around definitely for a bit of a live stream. Like I said, this is my first go at it on this channel. And I felt, what better time to just kick this off, rolling into the weekend, give those folks right here to get on live stream and be part of this conversation and where I can interact with you folks directly, but also, it gives people something to look at during the weekend. If you're coming back to revisit, this is a great place to kind of understand, the idea behind this channel, what I'm trying to accomplish here. I really am trying to give people a fighting chance for getting better deals and understanding the market as a whole. And, I think that's at the end of the day, like there's enough forces against us. We have inflation, we have government taxation, we have stress, and we have war, and we have all these things around us that are catching our, and deflecting and getting us looking at other things and distracting us. But at the end of the day, we almost all of us need vehicles at some point, and we know it's the second largest purchase in your lifespan. So you definitely don't want to waste your money and buy and make a bad decision. So that's what I'm really about. I just want to make sure that I'm offering up the extra information. Now, people have asked, well, what's your credentials? Other than the fact that I've worked in mechanic shops. Yes, I've rebuilt engines. I've supported also mechanics that have had 30 years, 35 years in the industry. I've worked alongside folks like that. Plastic gauging engines, of course, working, checking out big end bearing measurements, changing parts. Yeah, sometimes swapping out parts. I don't have all the diagnostic equipment, but I'm a great DIYer. I have worked for dealerships before. As one example, I have worked for a dealership no longer exists. I'll call them out. It was well, maybe I shouldn't call them out. But here in Edmonton, there was a dealership on White Ave, and it was a Toyota dealership. And I worked for them for quite a while as well. So I understand the sales side of this. I understand also the detailing aspect, because that's where I kind of started with that and then move into sales, and as well just the mechanical component and owning vehicles. So I really do have a significant background. I also have an engineering background. I just wanted to share that because there's been a lot of people try to kind of understand where I'm coming from and where these credentials are that drive some of these conversations. And so I just want to share that. So here we are, just looking at a little bit more of the car news for today. And what do we find here? We see a record 1.2 million EVs were sold in the US in 23, according to Kelley Blue Book. Well, I think we know. Yeah, the 1.2 million thing is definitely a number, and that's unfortunately something that has been it's been building. The EV market is growing, but that's because it's easy to say, oh, 1.2 million units, but put that relative to the entire industry, and then also think about it when you're starting from zero and then you grow. I mean, a percentage of growth is going to look like 1,000% of growth. I mean, you're starting at zero, and any growth is a huge win. So they are growing. People are getting on board, but again, I do see this leveling off, and there is certainly a tapering off of the popularity of EV growth. So Ryan, yeah, I know the dealership you are thinking of. Yeah, you betcha. They're they used to be right across the street. Well, across the street and down about a block or so from that A&W on White Ave. Then you probably know they were tucked in that brick building there. Been gone for quite a few years now, but that was many moons ago that I worked there. So yeah, that got some experience there, and that was my first experience getting behind the wheel of a 2JZ Supra back when those cars were brand new, and yeah, that was I'm telling you, that was a highlight. But I also didn't appreciate it what it was at the time. They had this brand new 2JZ. That's that twin turbo, 300 horsepower. Now ultra popular. You can't find them for less than probably $250,000. But yeah, I mean, I got to drive those cars. I drove, remember the Toyota Paseo. That was a fun little car. The Celicas, the Celica we talk about, our good buddy Scotty. I won't say his last name, but we know Scotty. Everybody knows Scotty if you're watching car channels on YouTube. Our good buddy Scotty loves that car. And I drove those cars. I drove the SR5s. I mean, all the, the earlier generation 4Runners and the pickup truck Tacomas and all those things. So yeah, Toyota, I kind of grew up a little bit enveloping the Toyota place or landscape. And so I appreciate what they make. Yeah, Toyota Matrix, there you go. I know folks as well with Matrix still. And those are workhorses. The Toyota Matrix and the Pontiac Vibe, as we know, are the same vehicle. And again, Pontiac, I think, rode the coattails of Toyota because it was clearly more Toyota, and the quality and reliability, because if it was a purely Pontiac vehicle, smaller vehicle like that, wouldn't have lasted. But you still see a lot of these vehicles on the road. They're economical. They're super reliable. They're great vehicles. So yeah, they're definitely. So Bojangles, yeah, the third channel idea is great, man. Everyone else loves your channel because you tell the truth. We would watch your reviews. So no, I do appreciate that. And really that's, I mean that because I do see so much fluff, and I don't want to put anybody down it. That's not, the game I play. I just create what I can and to the best I can, but I know what people want to see. And when I scroll through and I see somebody false delivering or they overpromise and underdeliver on content, it's pretty disappointing to me. So, it doesn't take long to scour through an hour of content to realize most of which you didn't actually get a lot of what you were looking for. So I just want to be real about it, and that's kind of the idea. Paluli 1995 at Ryan. Same here. My Matrix was the shit. No Toyota since then. Really interested me, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Toyota. Some would say that they've become a little vanilla, if you want, in terms of yogurt. My daughter just bought a Camry. One of my other daughters, a year and a half, 2 years ago now. It's absolutely amazing, but it's not the most dynamic vehicle. It's the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated. It's got the all-wheel drive. It's the SE all-wheel drive, so it's a great car. Um, but that's that was almost that knee jerk. That was like coming off the rebound, so to speak, because we gave her our old X5, and as soon as we handed it off to her, it was like repair after repair after. It was like she was a student going to school, part-time job, and here all of a sudden she's got this X5 in repairs, and we were helping out and kind of like splitting the difference a little bit there. But after coming off of some of that abuse that the X5 was the whole doling out, we were ready to go full stock the other way. So we ended up buying the Camry just because we knew it would be trouble free for some time. So, but yeah, Toyota, it's just one of those brands. They are. What I will say is they have been creating a little bit more interesting stuff lately. I do love the Lexus LFA, the IS 500s. Those are cool cars. On the Toyota side, the GR Corolla is a pretty fun little car, as is the Supra, which is essentially BMW. So there are a lot of fun cars that you can buy in the Toyota space. But yeah, it's there's different strokes definitely for different folks. And yeah. Oh, and speaking of which, just came across an article by Driving here that said the Toyota Prius Grand Highlander named AJAC's 2024's Canadian Cars of the Year. So the Grand Highlander, which is basically like the Lexus TX, I believe it is. The TX is a new third row SUV, huge, essentially pretty utilitarian, pretty square. That's a Grand Highlander, which is a scaled up version of the regular Highlander. Clearly, great vehicle, as it's a Toyota Prius, and specifically the Prime. The Prime is a great car for those that just want to go A to B. But the Prime adds a little bit of fun because they add that extra little plug-in hybrid element that makes the thing go peppy. So it's interesting little vehicles. Lamborghini they are not, but that's, I guess that's not really their deal. That's not the market space they're looking for. Let's see what else we can find here. Some other news, popular news. Okay. Let's just see here. What do we got? Yeah, lots of stuff going on. I mean, there's lots of stuff in here about EVs. Obviously, when you look in your car news, by the way, news.google.com, great source. But without getting again into the politics, we all know that things have changed here in Canada a little bit with some of these recent bills by the federal government that have created our limits, and I'm finding it already somewhat restricting what I have access to see on the internet. It's very disappointing. Is nothing, not to say the least. But that's the world we're in. So for those Canadians out there, for sure you'll appreciate that where I'm coming from with that. But that's a thing, and that's happening, and I'm seeing it already how it transfers over. So again, back to the original topic, we are starting to see some deals. Talking to that gentleman at that Nissan dealer, we actually found that they're starting to get a little hungry. They feel like they're definitely willing to negotiate a little bit more. I know there was a time when you'd walk in and they wouldn't even, they honestly, it was funny because a year ago, I remember shopping around for cars, just kicking tires, looking around. Mostly salespeople that I came across about a year ago, 2 years ago, they couldn't even have the decency to come up and say hi. A lot of them would just, honestly, they would wait for you to come into the dealership. And I had this personal experience where I had to go up. There's a counter in the center of the dealership, and there's about 3 or 4 salespeople all gassing on. And I'm like looking at cars, and traditionally these people would be up there hustling you, but that wasn't happening. They're waiting, they're playing coy. So I'd walk up, I'm like, hey, I got a question about a car. And they were almost, if I can say, almost kind of arrogant about it. And it felt like you were putting them out of their way just by asking a few basic questions about a car. And I feel like that's where we were. I had several experiences like that where during the peak, they knew they would sell it and they didn't care what you thought. And they also weren't really willing to bargain, especially on new vehicles. And a lot of times, even a lot of the used vehicles, they weren't even willing to buy or bicker with. Even on, the later model, 1 or 2 or 3 year old, higher quality, lower mile vehicles, they weren't even going to deal on. You pretty much had to pay as is. In some cases, you were battling with somebody behind you, a couple behind you wanted that vehicle too. Um, so what do we have here? So Paluli, 1995. Yeah, at Ryan. So same here. My Matrix was a shit. And again, I know I've repeated that. So that is great. And then also you add, why don't you stream on your main channel? I have a few times. If you look back historically, but yeah, it's very few and far between. I do feel like I think I should probably participate in that a little more frequently. It definitely gives an opportunity for folks to engage a little bit in the channel and talk to me pretty much in real time, because this is what it is. This is what it's about. When I'm up on making a video and I post a video, there's no opportunity there. There's no, can't ask a question. I can't call you and say, hey, oh, by the way, Fred or Paluli, I'm not able to say that. And so I get it. It's kind of fun to have that dialogue back and forth. So I probably will get back on board with doing some of that type of live stream. I'll probably get back into doing it a little bit more regularly as the year goes on here. I mean, 2024 is a new year. I'm looking at some new things for the channel again and looking at some new enhancements. We're bringing an additional editor to this channel to help out with some of the workload as well. So again, we're getting extra editor support, channel manager. I've got a few people actually on the payroll right now. So things are revving up. We're definitely investing in the channels. We definitely want to bring the best content we can on all of the channels. And that's why we're putting money back in. It's because I really do. You have to put money back in. You have to make it better. You have to find ways to improve on anything you're doing. Alonzo says, I'm a Benz enthusiast. Literally just got my first Benz, laugh out loud, a 16 E350. Any tips about maintenance? Just had my 80K B service. Talk about AMG. Yeah, all money gone. Yeah, that's about the size of it. Well, not specifically. I will say though, Alonzo, like I would say with these cars, I'm finding them more later generations. They're beautiful cars. They drive well. We love our Mercedes. We have obviously the C300, which it has the smaller scale down turbo 4. You've got the bigger drivetrain there, but the same thing kind of applies. I do believe that the E-Class, S-Class are built a little bit better. They're a little more solid than the C-Class or CLAs or GLCs or any of that. But I think the same thing applies. And I believe that what I'm finding with some of the modern Mercedes-Benz, they're more susceptible to neglect and abuse. So as long as a person's doing their maintenance, and when I say maintenance, I think the critical areas, oil service, 100%. So the A's and B's, I'll be honest, if I can kind of throw this out there, the A's and B's are a little bit of a fluff in there because a lot of them are checkbox. Okay, I'm going to just throw that out there. The A and B was created not for you after warranty. It is created for you after warranty. Let me scale that back. During warranty, if you have the included maintenance packages, they go through it. It's like once a year. It's barely $1 out of their pocket. But as you continue the ownership of that vehicle, that A and B flip-flop, there's that feeling like I need to keep repeating. But if you really look at some of the elements within the A and B, a lot of them are fluffy and noise. But I do believe don't neglect certain parts. Oil service, super, super critical. Do it more often than not. I would do it more frequently, much more frequently than the A and B services suggest. That's my opinion on oil services. If you're looking at the 4MATIC and the all-wheel drive system, you definitely want to look at and making sure differentials and front and back, everything's clean and fluid is looked at. Coolant is imperatively and critically important on these vehicles. Don't neglect that. Brake flushes, same thing. In these areas, remember, neglect and abuse will wreak havoc on these vehicles. The other thing that I will say with Mercedes, and we personally just experienced this, as you'll notice on the main channel, I've spoken about some of the issues we've had with our C300 recently. And some of them actually are directly related. We've had a bunch of fault codes come up, and we had some problems here during our really cold spell we had about a month ago. And for those from Edmonton will definitely know what I'm talking about. Um, is that batteries, batteries in these modern day cars and Mercedes-Benz, BMW, but I'm finding our Mercedes is even more susceptible to that, the voltage, the quality of output of that battery. So if you have a battery that's not healthy and in good shape, and you're all of a sudden getting weird codes, maybe you've got a battery that's in there for a while. Maybe you're driving your car and you're like, I can't remember last time I changed a battery. Or maybe you've got a late model Mercedes and it's maybe a 5-year-old car. And all of a sudden you're like, I think this is original because I'm the original owner or I'm a second owner and there was never a battery change. 5 to 7 years is pushing your limits and pushing your luck. So poor battery quality and the voltage output from those batteries will sure to wreak problems, and you'll get codes and issues. Some features might disable. You'll get those yellow fault codes on the dash. May not be a check engine light, but it'll be certain features are disabled, like lane assist or auto shut off programs. And then some of those features might start going away and you're like, what's going on with this glitchy car? Some of that electronic issues comes directly from the battery. So make sure you got a healthy battery and do your fluid changes. That's imperative and critical in any of these, particularly even more so in these German cars I'm finding. Again, Mercedes and BMW, very, very important to keep up on that type of maintenance. So yeah, there you go. So Alonso, yeah, already changed the battery. Great advice. Yeah, 100%. And I know it does seem like a simple thing. I've talked to people in my space. Hey, well, the battery's only 6 years old. It should be fine. Car still starts. Yeah, barely. It cranks slowly. And then we had some issues. And I know we swapped out a battery. And then we still had some codes come up. We actually had to take our C300 back to the dealer 3 times. First time, they didn't know what it was. Second time, we did a reset because we saw these resets. They were locked in. So we rebooted. Third time, because they started coming back, they said, you know what, we actually had to do a reflash on the ECU or something. They actually had to do a reflash, reinstall, and life's been good. Now it's been about almost probably 2.5, 3 weeks. New battery, no codes. So sometimes you got to go to the dealer, you pay the piper, got to do a reflash, sometimes software updates on some of these cars. So that's just kind of where, what I'm finding. And yes, so Anwar Martin, you betcha. Are you Exotic Car Play Place? I am Anwar, and I do appreciate you reaching out and watching the channel. I am, in fact, Exotic Car Play Place. As I quickly mentioned earlier, I've got essentially 3 channels on the brew. Exotic Car Play Place. Clearly, that channel is derived and made for people interested in good cars, bad cars, junk, transmissions, reliability, engines, problem areas, durability. You want to buy a car that's quality or junk or whatever, it talks to those areas. This channel is totally different. It's car related, but it's all about the finances, the car market, dollars, buying, selling, purely dollars and cents. I don't worry in this channel about how reliable a car is. I don't really get into that. I really focus more on good deals, bad deals, finances, and all of that. So the car market in general is this channel. So yes, I am the same person. And like I said earlier, I do run a small crew. There's about almost a handful of us that are a combination of full-time, part-time editors, manager, myself. And so we definitely have, and some, photography support as well in there. So definitely we've got a few people on board and we're building the channel. So, yeah. So like I said, kind of going on the extension of where we were at with the original talk about what was happening with this car market. I have started to see some of these dealers willing to maybe talk and willing to negotiate. As previous, where they were a little bit arrogant, they didn't really care about even dealing, or they didn't even care about trying to make a sale. They would let you come to them, not the other way around. That's shifting again. I'm finding some of the salespeople I know are experienced. Last night with this salesperson at Nissan was super friendly, very obliging. Here's the keys, go drive. Let me know when you're done. There was no monkey business there. They were super friendly and supportive, and they're already willing to deal. So we know that conversation's already been started, although they're doing some follow-up on some mechanical concerns that we had questions about this car. But I'm finding that now may be the opportunity that you can find in pockets of opportunities. Again, not a mass amount of opportunities, but certain manufacturers are more susceptible to maybe giving you a deal, especially now on the used car market. But be careful in the used because a lot of these vehicles are coming across the states, coming across Canada. Some are flood damage vehicles. Some are problematic in other areas, flood or claims. They got a black mark. Check your Carfax, CarProof. Make sure it's a clean vehicle. Um, you know, just make sure you got a quality vehicle you're looking at. Is it a wholesale vehicle or was it a trade-in? Those are great questions to ask too. Wholesale would imply they don't know where it came from. It was either at the auction or it was heading to the auction, and there could be a problem with the vehicle that might be unexplored or may not be shared. So buying a wholesale vehicle could propose a little bit more of a risk, but you could get some good deals there too. So I would definitely explore that. If it was a trade-in, sometimes there's extra goodies thrown in. They might throw an extra set of wheels. There might be more paperwork. You might have some service records, and there might be more history to the vehicle. So it's usually a little safer buying a trade-in vehicle that often they will provide you with an extra CPO warranty, either negotiated in or what have you. So there's a lot of great deals out there now starting to pop up, and I'm starting to see some of this. Starting to see some of the premium vehicles, prices starting to creep down. I've seen it on some of the Italian vehicles, Alphas on the used market. You get some great deals, even Porsches, Macans, SUVs like that. You're getting some great deals in those spaces now where it feels like those deals weren't there before. But, there's definitely some deals. Look at some of the used Mercedes Benz, used BMWs. There are some deals there. Now, you're going to pay a lot of money for late model, super low mileage, well looked after cars that are very specific, maybe very enthusiast based. You're going to probably pay a premium for certain models. But again, I'm starting to see more deals come out there, and I just wanted to kind of share that with you. So let's just see. Yeah, and Anwar, yeah, you say supercars are way down right now. I'm actually seeing that. You know what? It's funny you say that. I was looking online here this morning, and I actually saw a McLaren 650S. Now, that's one of my favorite kind of mid-level supercars. And when I say mid-level, I'm talking cost and budget because you can spend way more money, but you can spend less. I mean, a 650 ranges averages around $200,000 Canadian, probably about 160 to 180 US. That's not the current generation. That's about 3 generations old now. Before, since the 650, then they came with the 720, then they had the LT 765, and now they're into the 750S. So there's already a few generations, a few models since that. But in the supercar series of McLarens, the 650 is the best place to be. The MP4-12C now, I've seen some local folks that were asking a lot of money for a 12C when they're almost touching the point of a 650, and the 650 is up in power, more reliable. There's been enhancements electronically, and of course, it also has that nice revised front end, which is just a cleaner looking car altogether. 650 is where you want to get into McLaren land, in my opinion. And you can get those now. I saw one here that was listed at 200, came to 195, came down to 190, and now that car's listed at, I think, 187 or 186. It's just in the Alberta area here. Great opportunity for somebody in that space. You're right. Supercars are starting to drop. I'm seeing some of the older Ferraris, 360s. People were asking nutty money for those for a while back, and those are starting to drop down. I'm seeing now 360s back down into that $90,000 Canadian dollar territory again, whereas you couldn't touch that. The cheapest 360 I saw about a year ago was about 120. So they're dropping down. The 430s have softened, although they're a more desirable car, but they're softening up a little bit. The Lamborghini Gallardos, they're creeping up. I'm seeing that. I'm having a harder time finding a quality car for less than 120,000. And 2-3 years, well, actually, go back to 2019, and 04s and 05s that had decent miles on them were still listed at 120. So what I'm seeing is the supercar market has definitely started to shrink up a little bit. And so, Anwar, so I agree with the 650. Lots of people don't even think about it. Yeah, 100%. It is a classic example. You need a good battery in those cars for sure. And the batteries, I believe, are like a lithium ion, and they're huge money. I mean, I'm talking thousands of dollars. It's a McLaren thing. They put in this super low profile, lightweight battery in there, but you pay for it. But yeah, electrics, again, if you have a weak battery, you could cause problems. And McLarens are especially susceptible to not putting a charger on. So if you buy a McLaren, keep it on a tender. That's going to save you a lot of heartache in the long run. Might save you a few trips to the dealer as well. And a lot of times these dealers aren't in your area. So yeah, a lot of great opportunities out there. So supercar prices are creeping down. We're seeing this. We're seeing some of the other mainstream vehicles. Again, I'm seeing, cars in the Nissan and Toyota and Hondas are starting to creep down a little bit. I'm seeing some good deals there already. We've been shopping around. Again, my daughter's been looking for certain vehicles. One vehicle type that hasn't really shrunk too much, again, I don't know why. I don't get it. It's the Wranglers, the Jeep Wranglers. To me, it's such a box of a vehicle, but it's just not worth the money that they're asking for those things. But hey, who am I? They're popular. Young buyers love those vehicles and they're versatile. So I get it. People buy them, but they hold a strong value, both new and used. So hey, maybe it's not a terrible investment from that perspective. Um, yeah, Anwar, so you say S-Tronic Audi R8 V10, also another great supercar steal, 100%. You betcha. Yeah, you want the, ideally with the Audis and the R8s, ideally if you can get a stick, like but you can't usually steal those cars, not literally steal, but you can't get a great deal on the manual, the gated cars in either the Lamborghini Gallardo or the Audi R8s. You can't really get a great deal in the stick cars, but that's the car. Ultimately, get a gated car, the V10, that's your sweet spot. But yeah, honestly, if you can get the dual clutch and not their single automated clutch system, so get the newer version of the Audi R8 is actually where just an impeccable car to get. So definitely the R8 is one of those sleepers that a lot of people kind of overlook, but really shouldn't. Same with the Acura NSX, which they're starting to see better deals there. I'm starting to notice as well, as is the BMW. I'm starting to see as well M3s. So when you look at the previous generation M3 before the big bucktooth style, we're starting to see with the the S55 engines. Those are going for a song and a dance. You can get some decent ones now. I'm starting to see the prices come right down on those. So there's some good money or some decent cars for good money out there now. So again, this is what this video is really about. It's really saying, look, they're starting to get some deals. Dealers are getting a little bit hungrier and buyers are lapping this up. So if you've been shopping for a car or a truck, this is the time to start looking. I'm not saying dive in feet first. Definitely have to shop around because there's some great deals out there, but there's also still some rip-off artists, and you have to really be careful. Make sure you're doing your study. It was like that car last night we looked at. It was a 3 Series BMW. It was a G20, so the latest version with the 4-cylinder. It was a 330. So immediately we went shopping, and then we went online. I expanded our search to within 500 kilometers, and I looked for other cars that were of that model year and newer. And I said, okay, how much and where does this fit into the grand scheme? And so you got to shop around. Where's your average? No dealer is going to give you wholesale, but at the end of the day, as long as you know that you're getting a strong competitive price for that vehicle, that's all you got to know, right? I mean, it really does come down to market value at the end of the day. Yeah, we have Alonzo. So you also say, I recently got into a fender bender. Guy backed into me, got an estimate from adjuster. Should I go to the dealership or regular body shop? That's a tricky one, Alonzo. So, are you from Edmonton area or are you kind of outside? You're in another area here, I presume. Let me just see here. Yeah. So I guess, sorry, I guess what I'll say is, I know here in Edmonton, there's a body shop. When we had our car wrecked, I knew the body shop I knew our insurance company, but our insurance company said, we have this great service center. You come in, they take care of it. We do all this goodness. It's easy. Cans, the keys, you get it all back. It's once and done. It's a simple process. We take it from tip to tail. But that's not what I wanted. I knew the body shop because our car, the Mercedes, was bumped as well. And I know the body shop in town here in Edmonton that does the best work, guaranteed, warranted, and as well, they do all the factory work for some of the OEM dealers of some of these expensive German manufacturers. They do that work. That's the dealer, or that's the body shop that those dealerships go to when there's a problem, maybe on a truck or in the car lot. I went there and I said, it's my rights as the consumer to not go where my insurance company suggests I go, because they'll lean on you. And our insurance company leaned on us. Oh, we'll take care of it for you. We'll do this, we'll do that. And they make it all easy. And then I said, whoa, I had to actually push back. And I ended up saying, no, I'm going over here. And then they didn't like it, but they knew they didn't have a pot to piss in. So I basically went there anyway, to my own dealership. And that's what I would say. Find out who the preferred dealership is in your town, and the one that manages the repairs for these expensive dealers like Porsche, BMW, Mercedes. Look at those. Who do those guys go to? Just call them. It probably doesn't take, it's not probably not very hard to find out who, talk to the service folks, talk to some of those people, maybe management, and find out, hey, who do you normally go to for body work? That's where I go, because those guys are usually warranting. They're usually putting in new parts, not remanufactured. They generally do better warranty type work. So that's where I'd go. Let's just see. And so, yeah, okay. So, yeah, in the US. So, yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, so it's going to be different everywhere, US, Canada, and everything. I'm not sure what all the rules are in the United States for that type of thing, but in Canada, for sure, we have the laws to enable the consumer to actually take on that actual privilege of taking it where you want. So it's my choice, and I decided that way. So yeah, I would agree. Thomas Downey, yeah, you betcha. Go to a body shop with the good reviews. And this takes me back to go to the premium manufacturers and find out who they're using, because that's going to probably put you in a better place, right? Insurance companies don't like that, because they also know that some of these body shops don't cut corners, and it might end up costing them a little bit more. That's why they frown away from that. But hey, I just want the best job done. I was on the receiving end of this. Why should I have to pay twice? This is kind of the way I see that. You betcha. So, yeah. So Thomas, yeah, I had to get my car fixed during the summer from a hit and run. We were the same way. Well, ours didn't run, but almost. Like, our cars were parked on the side of the road, and this person in the sunny weather in the summer, the double lane road in front of a school and a playground. It was a low speed 30-kilometer zone, 20-mile-per-hour zone. And somebody comes across the road. It wasn't even a side swipe. It comes across and takes out our cars. I still shake my head. But anyway, I mean, who knows? We share roads with all different sorts of people, and that's just kind of what happens. So, but anyway, I just want to wrap this up, everybody. I really, really do appreciate that. It's been a great initial kickoff to obviously live stream here. I do really appreciate everybody popping in. And yeah, there, Thomas, see, same thing. Mine was in front of your house, and often it just is residential area. Somebody speeding through a residential area, or careless, maybe texting. They got their phone and they're driving and they're doing this, and they're distracted. Next thing you know, wham, they glance off your car or something. It's terrible, but it happens. You betcha. Thanks, Paluli, for sure. And thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your time stopping by. The comments, great. It's really enthusiastic here for me. I see this as inspiring to see the engagement I'm getting here. A lot of great comments. I really, really appreciate. Thanks, Thomas, for the sub. And yeah, welcome to the channel. I really do appreciate that. And thanks so much for your comments as well. And everybody for joining in. And if you're not a subscriber, I'm not here to pitch that. I'm just here to live stream, share some commentary on this. But yeah, I mean, if you're so compelled, if you're interested in joining a channel that has passion about the car industry, hey, this is a great place to start and stop. So I really appreciate everybody stopping by. And thanks so much, everybody. Alonzo, thanks again to you as well. And thanks for, stopping by for the live stream. I hope to see each and every one of you real soon. Have a great weekend, long weekend, of course, for those who are in Canada, and everybody else. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, and hope to see you all real soon. See you then. Bye-bye.